All right, it's time for the fun one. We're getting into Europa League and Conference League, everything that's happening. This is the second to last round of qualifying. So we've gotten rid of all of the teams that have virtually no chance of making it there. And particularly in the Conference League, the drama is insane because there is no league to drop to after that. If you get knocked out, obviously, in the Europa League qualifying, you do have a chance to go to the last round of Conference League qualifying. And most importantly, for a lot of these teams, if you win this round of Europa League qualifying that we're going to be looking at, you will at least be in the Conference League stage, because if you lose in the final round of Europa League qualifying, that's where you go to. There were two matches to look at on Tuesday, whatever day it was. And the first one was in the Europa League. This was Maccabi Tel Aviv against Hamrun from Malta. The Maltese league, if you're not caught up on all this nonsense, is never relevant. They are usually a league that is putting teams playing in like the preliminary qualifying. They don't even hop into the first round, and if they get there, it's rare. So to have a team this far into Europa League qualifying is extremely rare, and they actually had the lead against Maccabi Tel Aviv, who are by every measure a way better team here. They did come back and win it in the 96th minute to take a 2-1 win home, so they did get the away win, but Hamrun for some reason was absolutely in this game from start to finish. I don't know if something's changed or if the Maltese football has just been growing and this is kind of their breakout season, but Maccabi Tel Aviv should be absolutely walking this tie. They're not. And if Malta's Hamrun can actually find a way to get a win on the road, then they could legitimately be up to something which is completely and utterly insane. They should not be up to anything. The next match was in the Conference League. Like I said, two matches only on Tuesday. And that was Klaksvik, our old friends. Klaksvik from the Faroe Islands, the first Faroese team to make a European group stage, and they're back at it again at home in Klaksvik, where I have been. Weirdly enough, Zealand's been there too. Of course, he's made a Hidden Grounds video about this particular team, and they in a town of 5,000 people somehow, except actually they can't play there. They have to play their European matches in the national team stadium in Tórshavn, the capital of the Faroe Islands. And a Belarusian team went there and got beat 2-0. So Klaksvik is trying to get to the Conference League group stage for the second time in their history. And they're not the only Faroese team that's up to some nonsense. We're going to get to that later. But first, we got to head to Wednesday, where we run into one of our other kind of non-major European League fun teams, RFS from Latvia, who made the Europa League stage last year. They're in Europa League qualifying again against KUPS of Finland, but they've lost this. KUPS scored 2 goals in the first 24 minutes before RFS got a reply. That's a very important reply. RFS now goes on the road, pretty short road trip up to Finland for a second tie that they need to win to force extra time, win by multiple goals to advance. Obviously, RFS making back-to-back European group stages would be huge for Latvian football. Finland, the league has not necessarily been able to keep up with Norway, Sweden, Denmark, the way they've been able to compete in recent years. Honestly, even the Faroe Islands in some ways. And then the other match in the Europa qualifying on Wednesday, huge surprise. Shelburne went to Rijeka of Croatia and beat them 2-1. They were down 1-0 in the second half as well. Got 2 goals in 12 minutes. Shelburne is out of the Irish League, which is just not good. I mean, Croatia's league is at a completely other level than the Irish League in terms of everything from attendance, transfer fees, player quality, what have you. But Shelburne has gotten a huge result. Rijeka at home could not be losing this. Now they have to go on the road. They have to go to Ireland and try and get a win. I would still back Rijeka to get through in this tie, but this is a really stunning result for Shelburne that can guarantee a spot in a group stage of some kind for the reasons that we talked about earlier. There were no Conference League matches on Wednesday, which means we had straight to Thursday, where it was all Conference League, all Europa League, all the time. I'll do the best to get you a little bit about each of these games, but obviously there's a lot. Europa League, again, second to last round of qualifying here. Midtjylland and Fredrikstad. A little Denmark v. Norway. Midtjylland, definitely the better team on paper. They showed up and played like the better team. Big third goal in the 79th minute to make it 3-1, going to Denmark for the second leg. So Midtjylland able to avoid sadness. Huge surprise in this match between Lincoln Red Imps and Noah. Lincoln Red Imps of Gibraltar trying to make it to a European group stage for the first time in the history of the Gibraltarian League. If they advance out of this tie, they are guaranteed a spot in the Conference League group stage, even if they lose. Noah made a European group stage last year. The Armenian team was a huge surprise entrant, and they not only did they make it, they were pretty competitive at times. They got smoked by Chelsea, but they were in the Conference League group stage, and they did have the lead in the 9th minute after getting a goal disallowed in the 6th minute. They had to go to Gibraltar. They played at Europa Point Stadium with 700 people in attendance in Gibraltar, but Lincoln Red Imps found an equalizer and held on, and they were not ridiculously outplayed here. They had 57% of the ball throughout the entire game. It is a very long away day on the way back for Lincoln Red Imps to go to Armenia and play at Noah, but they've given themselves a chance to really condense this tie down to 90 minutes. If they can produce a magical 90 minutes at Noah, we could be looking at our first Gibraltarian team to make any group stage. Tough qualifying sessions for Poland all around. Like Poznan got defeated pretty handily in Champions League, and Ike Larnaca of Cyprus showing the Cypriot League has really, it's getting back to its top level that it can be at. Ike Larnaca with a 4-1 home win against Legia Warsaw, who had a pretty good campaign last time around. Braga has not fully put away Cluj out of the Romanian league. They did go into halftime at 1-1 before scoring in the 50th minute to make it 2-1, a result that Braga needs, right? The Portuguese league should be sending a team through to the Europa League group stage. It's a tough, tough draw for Cluj to have to deal with. Another showdown between some Scandinavian opponents, BK Häcken against Brann. This all still in the Europa League. Brann got the win 2-0. A big win for Norway. Norway needs somebody that is not Bodo Glimt to start getting results. Obviously, it's not Fredrikstad, but Brann has shown that they, can go toe-to-toe with one of the better Swedish teams in the Europa League qualifying stage. That's not bad. Big surprise for PAOK Thessaloniki. The Greek league, as you probably noticed, keeping track of it the last couple of years, has been transcendent, right? They won a European trophy in the Conference League 2 years ago. Wolfsberger out of Austria, not one of those teams from Austria that's going to get the lights flashing that you're going to be worried about. But they did go to Greece and pull out a draw, which means PAOK Thessaloniki, despite having 64% of the ball, they created basically nothing. They didn't get a shot on target, and they now have to go to Austria and find a way to win. Wolfsberger set themselves up for a very good position in this second leg. They were definitely not a team that you would have backed going into a match against PAOK Thessaloniki, but here they are. Panathinaikos against Shakhtar Donetsk. This is a tough Europa League qualifying showdown at this stage. Tough draw for both of these teams. A hearty 0-0 means Shakhtar Donetsk gets their home match at a neutral site to try and pull off the win against Panathinaikos, but the Greek teams are struggling a little bit. And then there's the Bosnian team, Zrinski. Bosnia and Herzegovina had its first ever European knockout team. Last time through it was not Zrinski, but that league is on the rise. But they could not beat Breidablik at home. The Icelandic team, Breidablik, one of the better teams in the Icelandic league, not like the Kings of Iceland or anything. They actually had the lead in the 18th minute on a rebound from a penalty before Zrinski scored their own penalty in the 72nd. But now Zrinski has to do something nobody is going to want to do. Travel all the way up to Iceland and play on a field kind of in the middle of nowhere, right? Small stadium, different vibe, and that's going to be a difficult ask. Right, Breidablik, you see it from Icelandic and Faroese teams. They are really hard to beat on their little rocky frozen islands. Okay, when you go up there, it's real difficult, and I'd give Breidablik a real good chance of getting through. I wouldn't have done that before. FCSB, big surprise elimination from Champions League qualifying in the last round, and then they almost made it worse. At home against Drita from the Kosovan League, they were down 2-0 at 63 minutes into the match. But they turned it around, scored 3 goals in the last half an hour. Huge missed chance for Drita. I don't know how they managed to get up 2-0 in this game. There should be a huge gap between these two teams. FCSB was in the European knockouts last year. They have managed to battle their way through, but now they go on the road. Not a long road trip to Kosovo, but still on the road with a 1-goal advantage. FCSB not safe and really playing quite poorly. And the final Europa League match was Utrecht against Servette. Big draw because Servette is really been a competitive team in Europe the last couple of years. Made a European knockout, I think it was 2 years ago in the Conference League. Utrecht, happy to be here, right? Haven't been in Europe in 14, 15 years, at least in a European League group stage, and they went behind early, 12th minute, right? This is not an easy ask for Utrecht to go on the road and get a result in this match had they had a monster second half. All right, they got an own goal, they got another one, they got 3 goals in a 10-minute stretch that completely flipped this game in Utrecht's favor. It is not over, but a multi-goal loss at home for Servette is a disaster. Now, it is time to get into the actual weeds here, right? The rest of the Conference League matches, so much of the Conference League stage is decided through qualifying. There are so many teams that maybe you've never heard of, you didn't know were relevant, that are making plays. And we'll start with Ammonia out of Cyprus, an Azerbaijani team that is not Karabakh. And Araz has made it to this round, and they have been roundly shown the door by the Cypriot side. Cyprus had another team showing down against the Greek side, AEK Athens. Hugely disappointing for AEK Athens. They had a 2-0 lead in 14 minutes, but it was 2-2 by halftime. Aris out of Cyprus. I mean, the Cypriot League gets no love, gets no attention. I've never even seen a match in that league on TV. AEK Athens had a great... I mean, we got 3 Greek teams that are kind of on the ropes here. They're going to be at home, and you'd probably back AEK Athens to be able to survive. They're one of the biggest teams that's going to be in this round of the Conference League qualifying, but they have certainly not put it away. They are not comfortable. Now we've got a Bulgarian team I've never really heard of called Arda that's gone on the road against Kauno Žalgiris. Kauno Žalgiris got a second-minute red card, but managed to not have that ruin the entire tie. They gave up 1 goal in the second half, but at home the Lithuanian side was able to hang on, and that gives me maybe hope they could go to Bulgaria and do something, but that's a matchup that I'll level with you. I know basically nothing about. We had another red card in Milsami. Moldova against San Marino. This is vintage Conference League qualifying. Shout out to Virtus for getting to this point. It was 1-0 when Milsami got the red card in the 45th +1 minute. And Virtus did manage to score 2 goals in the second half, but Milsami scored in the 89th, while also getting a red. They scored with 9 men. Classic San Marino side. They gave up a goal, up 11 players to 9 in the 89th minute. And Milsami out of Moldova has to feel good that they finished a match with 9 men and still got the win. Shout out to a San Marinese side for even getting to this round. That is huge, massive progress. Pretty big showdown between Rosenborg and Hammarby in this round of the Conference League. 0-0. That's going to go on to the second leg to be decided. Ostrava out of the Czech Republic against Austria Vienna. Big win for Ostrava. They were down 1-0 in the 4th minute. Austria Vienna, this is one of the kind of bigger clubs in Austria, but they haven't necessarily been at the top level. This is a true dealer's choice type match. Big comeback in the second half by Austria Vienna before Banik Ostrava was able to extend the league. A couple of Central European leagues going at it, trying to get extra teams into the European group stages. AEK out of Sweden beat Gjör out of Hungary. The Hungarian league just hasn't shown particularly well recently overall. AEK probably disappointed they didn't win by more, but huge possession advantage for Gjör. Don't know what was going on there. 69%, and eventually was able to produce 1 goal for them. Latvia's got another team going. Latvia's Riga FC produced a huge 3-0 win over Beitar Jerusalem, right? The Israeli league has been struggling a little bit in all this qualifying, while RFS out of Latvia is still going in the Europa League, Riga FC still going in the Conference League. We are seeing leagues, whether it's Bosnia-Herzegovina, whether it's the Faroe Islands, all these leagues, even Gibraltar, these leagues are getting teams that they're playing with belief, right? That Conference League door being open gives these sorts of teams the opportunity to play, get exposed in these sorts of stages. Huge 3-goal second half from Riga FC. They also dominated possession. Beitar, just got to be horribly disappointed with that result in general. Jagiellonia, one of the darlings of European play last year, went to Silkeborg in Denmark. This is a tough draw. They won 1-0. 15th minute goal, and it was marginally deserved for Jagiellonia. But that is one of those draws where you're sitting there going, wow, that's brutal. Speaking of brutal, Viking out of Norway got drawn against Başakşehir out of Turkey. Any Turkish league team at this level of qualifying in Conference League is a brutal draw. That being said, Viking had the lead at halftime, but 3 goals in the last half hour means Başakşehir comes home with a multi-goal lead. That's probably put to bed. Sheriff Tiraspol, a darling of the Champions League not too long ago, got a tough draw against Anderlecht out of Belgium and lost 3-0 on the road. That you could probably see coming. AZ playing at this level of the Conference League as well. AZ Alkmaar, 3-0 win over Vaduz out of Liechtenstein. Shout out to Vaduz for being able to make it here. They play in the Swiss League, but because they win the Liechtensteiner Cup, they get a shot at Europe every year. And, they've gotten farther than you'd probably expect, right? They are within 2 ties of the league stage, but AZ, they have to win that tie. There is simply no other option. Shout out Estonia. Levadia out of Estonia has picked up a win. 3-2 over Differdong of Luxembourg. This was a bit of a wild shootout. 3 goals in the first 20 minutes. Levadia had the lead 3-1. Differdong pulled it back. Luxembourg has had a group stage team within the last 10 years. Estonia, not really a nation that's ever got, I mean, we were talking about the two Latvian teams. If we're up in the Baltics here, we've talked about a Lithuanian team, right? Out of all those, I'd say Estonia is the one that's producing the least pressure in trying to get into those group stages and stuff. But if you can win on the road, now they're going to go home. All they have to do is defend that lead, and they're going to be one match away. Sofia Levski out of Bulgaria, or Levski Sofia out of Bulgaria, beating another one of the Azerbaijan teams. Again, Karabakh, the level of Karabakh compared to these other teams from Azerbaijan is usually huge, but it waited till the 98th minute. The 98th minute for Levski Sofia to actually find it. Olimpia Ljubljana against Ignacia out of Albania. Olimpia Ljubljana, the Slovenian league's not been as good as it probably should have been recently, but they did miss a penalty. This is a good result for Ignacia. Club I've never heard of out of Albania is going to be going home with an opportunity to win and advance, which, yeah, I mean, I'm sure they would have shaken somebody's hand off for that up to this point. Polisia Zodomir out of Ukraine, one of the new rising Ukrainian teams. They beat Paks out of Hungary 3-0. The Ukrainian league still has some serious hands in this particular situation. Sparta Prague 4-1 over Ararat Armenia, the Armenian league. Outside of the surprise emergence of Noah as a legit European League stage contender, they've not really been able to do anything. Sparta Prague gave up an early lead at home, but you can feel over the way that this kind of match went, the goals coming at regular intervals, they just leaned on them, outshot them 22-9. And when you're down 4-1, I don't think there's going to be anything for Ararat Armenia to pull off at that point. This, however, might be my favorite result of all the time we had in the Conference League here. Vikingur Gotha of the Faroe Islands. That's right. This is not just a Klaksvik deal anymore. Vikingur Gotha, from a town of 600 people in the Faroe Islands, has managed to beat Linfield out of Northern Ireland. Right? Obviously, Linfield not a titan of industry here, but an own goal in the 3rd minute, another goal in the 56th minute, and Vikingur Gotha. This is why these matches had to be played on different days, by the way, because I'm sure they played this at Torsvaller and Torshavn, right? Which was, this is the national team stadium. It's the only one that can host continental matches in the entire country of the Faroe Islands, which means Klaksvik plays on Tuesday, Vikingur Gotha plays on Thursday. Linfield's going to be coming home. And they will still likely have a good chance to figure this out. I mean, they outpossessed them 68% to 32%. They outshot them 22-3, right? Linfield's obviously a better team than Vikingur Gotha. But like I said, it is incredibly difficult to go up to these frozen rocks up there, the Faroe Islands or Iceland, and beat them. They're just so... they draw some sort of strength from the land, right? It's such an abstract place for people to go that even somebody from Northern Ireland is like closer to that than most places. They just struggle up there, and Vikingur Gotha could be the Cinderella of all Cinderellas. Lausanne Sport out of Switzerland, 3-1 over Astana, the former kings of Kazakhstan. Now all of a sudden, they're relying on a 90th minute goal to give them some faint hope that when the Swiss team travels out to Kazakhstan, they'll be able to overturn that result. Balkani out of Kosovo. They've been the team that's been pushing things for Kosovo in past qualifyings. They win 1-0. Shamrock Rovers out of Ireland, a potential group stage team, a team that would be hoping they could make it, now has to come home after their road trip to Kosovo with a loss in their back pocket. The next match, one of the biggest surprises of the round. Lugano, a perfectly respectably solid team out of Switzerland, against Celje out of Slovenia that made the European knockouts last year in a very surprising fashion. And Celje played like they were the dominant team. They won this 5-0. Sure, they had 2 penalties going their way, but I mean, they were padding it up over 3 XG, and only half of that was the 2 penalty kicks they were able to create. Now, Lugano's unlucky they didn't score 1.61 XG, but this tie's over. It's more over than any other tie that has happened in this entire round. Celje is going to be going through, and that is horribly disappointing for Lugano, even though that is weird to say about Celje. It's a pretty tough draw for Lugano, considering the other teams that were here. Univ Craiova of Romania beat Trnava out of Slovakia 3-0, so the Romanian league still keeping it going. Pretty poor effort from Slovakia in all of these qualifyings. St. Pat's Athletic got a brutal draw against Besiktas out of Turkey. And Besiktas delivered the absolute fist of goodness here. 4-1 on the road in Ireland. Thank you for playing. Vikingur Reykjavik out of Iceland. I love qualifying because sometimes you get these results that are just insane, right? Whether it's Vikingur Gotha out of the Faroe Islands, whatever. Celje with a 5-0 over Lugano. Brøndby is a good team in Denmark, right? And the Danish league is a respectable top 10, probably not top 10, maybe definitely top 15 league in Europe, right? With multiple teams that can make European group stages without anybody batting an eye. Then, of course, Viking or Reykjavik beats them 3-0 in Iceland. Now, Brøndby could overturn this in Denmark. All right, it's not like Brøndby suddenly forgot how to play. They had the majority of possession. They had over 1 XG. They didn't get completely run off the pitch by Viking or Reykjavik. But this is a pretty egg-on-your-face embarrassing result for Brøndby. It's going to start a bit of an inquest. They would have thought this was a pretty easy draw, and now they're in serious trouble. Hajduk Split out of Croatia, definitely the favorite against Dinamo Tirana, but Dinamo Tirana was up at halftime before they managed to turn around in the second half. Hajduk Split still has to go on the road, though, so that could be a difficult situation. Santa Clara out of Portugal, of course, the island team from Portugal that's creating all these insane potential away days. They went to Northern Ireland and won 3-0 with 3 goals in a 10-minute stretch in the first half. So great performance from Santa Clara. Looks like their journey is going to continue unless they blow it at home. And then Scotland, Hibernian. Big surprise result after a 34th minute red card for Partizan. We saw Red Star in World Cup qualifying, and qualifying earlier did very well. Partizan, not so much. Hibernian coming home with a 2-goal advantage. That's going to be nice for them. The Scottish League rises again. Perfect. Maccabi Haifa with a 1-0 win. The Israeli League had a really bad round of qualifying. They pulled something out. Poland looking strangely bad after last year. There were multiple Polish teams contending in European knockouts, so I don't know, maybe a talent drain going on in Poland. And then a pretty even-on-even showdown between Rapid Vienna and Dundee United out of Scotland. It was a pretty fun match overall, 2-2 in Austria, which means a bit of a road trip up into the Highlands coming up for Rapid Vienna to try to salvage this, or else we're going to have Hibernian and Dundee United potentially running around in the next round. That didn't take me any time at all. That's your update, and once these matches are played, then we'll know the draws as well of the final showdowns in the Conference League, who can go where, and all that stuff's good fun. So